Hello and welcome to TigerClash. I'm your moderator, Jake Stoope. Each month we're bringing in two of your fellow students to debate hot topics around the world. Today we'll be discussing the heavy and sensitive topic of abortion that finds men and women facing the moral dilemma of whether or not to terminate a pregnancy. Is abortion morally wrong? Should abortion be legal or illegal? We don't know. Joining me today are Blake Beveridge and Haley West representing pro-life, and Alyssa Covarrubias and Nariah Martin representing pro-choice. And I want to start with y'all. I want to ask y'all, just tell me a little about yourself. Tell me like an introduction, I guess.
My name is Haley West. I am a freshman. I am part of the speech and debate team, and I am pro-life.
My name is Blake Beveridge. I'm a senior here. I'm involved within our media team. I do a bunch of the live streams, and I've run cross country for Arlington.
Okay, Nariah.
My name is Nariah Martin. I am a co-president for the speech and debate team. I've been on the speech and debate team since freshman year. I also am a part of the Shelby County Youth Council, and I'm also a part of the Youth Action Facilitation team outside of school.
Okay, Alla, right? You like Alla? Okay.
My name is Alla Covarrubias. I'm also a part of the speech and debate team. I'm one of our co-presidents, and I'm also involved in the technical theater program here at our school.
Okay, that's really cool. I just want to start with y'all, the pro-life people. I want to ask, what is your main argument or main, topic, I guess you could say, on why abortion is wrong?
Right. Well, we think abortion is wrong for multiple reasons, but looking at the science of it, of the science of embryology, we think that the unborn is a living, whole, and distinct human being from the moment of conception, and that arguments of size, level of development, environment, and degrees of dependency are not good arguments for the termination of that life.
You got anything to say about that?
Yes. So, the National Center for Biotechnology Information considers embryos a whole human being at the early stage of maturation, and an embryo is its own self-developing organism.
Okay. Do y'all have anything you want to respond to that, and then also give me your main argument on why you are pro-choice?
So I'm pro-choice basically because it's not really a matter of whether or not we believe whether an embryo is living or not. It's a matter of a woman having the right to choose whether or not she wants to carry out her pregnancy. We also agree with the legalization of it, considering that even before Roe v. Wade, 20 to 25% of women still carried out an abortion with their pregnancies. So instead of getting unsafe or illegal abortions, you should be able to get it safely. And whether it's wrong or right should be up to the woman who's carrying that child.
Okay.
I believe that women should have the legal right to dictate what goes on within their own bodies, and I'm also of the belief that fetuses have to be self-reliant in order to be considered a living human organism.
Yeah. So I'm just follow up with what she just said. Can fetuses count as individuals if they're reliant on the mother for life? What do y'all have to say about that?
I have to say yes, because even after the baby is born, they're still reliant on the mother for certain things, because they are still developing, they can't walk, they need the mother for food, and a baby is going to be dependent on their mother even after it's out of the womb.
Right. Like what she said, the degrees of dependency is just like when you're talking about like a self-reliance upon it, what you have to understand is that the baby's separate from the mom. It's a whole distinct living human being that's completely separate. Yes, they're connected, but it's still a different living human being, and that's where our argument really rests, is that you can't just kill something, even if it might be like self-reliant or something like that. It's still a whole human being that's completely separate. You can't just decide to kill it because it's not your body with it, it's someone else's.
So there was a response saying that the reason why it will be considered a individual because the argument that it needs the mother's care is still after birth. However, though, I don't think that it is right to compare a baby who was born to a fetus. considering that one, because the fetus is connected to the mother and because the whole birth process also affects the mother, there are mothers who may die from simply even having a baby. There's evidence even showing that you are more likely to have pregnancy complications than you are likely to have abortion complications. So I would say that the two are not comparable, that if something was to happen to the baby as far as physical effects, that would not affect the mother. But even with that, a baby can still be taken care of by its caretaker, by another person who is not the birth mother. A fetus has to be taken care of by that person that it is in. And then also, again, the fetus and the mother, because they are connected, that affects two individuals. I will not dehumanize or refer to a fetus as not individual in this debate because that's not my place to do so in this for now. But I will say that.
I also agree with Naraya that fetuses are completely reliant on the mother, and babies can be cared for by other caretakers, orphanages, and yeah, I just agree with Naraya on that. Sorry, I had something else, but I lost it.
You're good. So y'all are talking about different viewpoints on if a fetus is an individual, and I just kind of want to talk about that viewpoint. For abortion, are there situations where you obviously believe it's okay? Are there situations where it is wrong, or are you at the stance where it is okay no matter what?
So again, just to clarify the stance of pro-choice, we simply believe that the mother has that right. It's up to the person who is having that child or having that abortion to determine that. We actually found a study by Diana Green Foster called the Turnaway Study. It was a 10-year study analyzing the effects of women who were turned away from abortions and women who were able to carry out their abortion. It was a 10-year study and it started in 2008. They found that 95% of the women who did have their abortions agreed that it was the right choice for them. So again, as someone who is not pregnant, as someone who doesn't have an abortion, I don't get to determine whether it's right or wrong. Apparently the 5% believed that that wasn't the best choice for them, but the 95% did. And so based off what women are saying, that is what they can believe. The only time where abortion would not be okay is if someone is either manipulated or if someone has not fully consented to a procedure happening to them. And sometimes this can happen based off of family situations and unfortunate events. But pro-choice is giving the woman the right to choose, not anyone else, forced or unforced.
I would love to, what are you talking about, like when you're saying this right to choose, are you just saying they have the right to choose for abortion? Like where does that right really come from, I guess?
The right comes from because the fetus is directly connected to them, which means that it's going to affect them. Also, if they are the mother and they choose to be the caretaker of this child, that child would affect them financially and their family even after they are born.
Right.
And so that's a decision for them to make. And considering that 95% of them thought that that was the right decision for them, that's something that they get to determine.
Right. She does have some evidence on that. But when you're talking about that right to choose, the person that's not getting a choice in that is the baby. All abortion advocates have been able to decide that the baby in the womb is a full human being. There's a quote by Faye Walton. She was the former president of Planned Parenthood, and she said, "I think we have deluded ourselves into believing that people don't know that abortion is killing. So we think that any pretense that abortion is not killing is a signal of our ambivalence, a signal that we cannot say yes, it kills a fetus." And then from Christopher Coscore from the Ethics of Abortion, it says, "A zygote is the beginning of a new human being. Human development begins at fertilization, the process during which a male gamete or sperm unites with a female gamete or octet to form a single cell called a zygote. This highly specialized cell marks the beginning of each of us as a unique individual. From the moment of conception, we've been able to determine that the baby is a distinct human being that's separate from the mother. And when you're saying this right to choose, you're not weighing in the actual baby that's the one that we're killing." So.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with the second part of the show.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We have this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
Love.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back to TigerClash. Again, we're here with Blake and Haley debating against Alyssa and Naraya discussing their views on abortion. I just want to ask you all, whoever wants to answer, do you want to respond on what Blake just said?
Yes. Again, so we are not debating the dehumanization or dehumanization of a fetus. That's not in the scope of what we are saying at all. What, can I continue to speak, please? Thank you. What we are saying basically is that, again, the woman does have the right to choose, and we already established why this right is given, considering that it affects two individuals when the fetus and the mother are both connected to each other. We also do want to bring up that there is oftentimes a misconception of why women get abortions. Oftentimes it is related to financial reasons, and when you think about financial reasons, you have to think about food security, you have to think about buying diapers, you have to think about being able to provide for that baby. When you are in a household where you are privileged enough to have the financial resources to provide for the children that you may be able to have, it's a lot easier to have those children. But when you are a mother and you maybe already have children, because we also found that from this 10-year study that 60% of the women who have had abortions were already mothers, they have to think about feeding their other children that they have as well. We find just a lot of evidence that shows that people who were denied abortions were not able to financially grow as people who were able to get abortions and maybe have kids later on. So for them, it's about timing, it's about responsibility, and it's about being able to take care of those kids after they are born and not put them through maybe a trauma such as poverty, because that's an unfortunate thing that no baby or no child should have to experience.
One thing that you did bring up there was you were talking about the financial need. There's plenty of pro-life organizations that do provide diapers, and there's multiple churches that do help provide that. And so I would say, yes, there's financial poverty, and I understand that, but there's also lots of pregnancy centers that offer that kind of support for the mothers.
John. I'm sorry, I was still speaking, I'm sorry.
But another thing that brought up is you don't think that's in the scope to talk about the humanity of the baby. Why do we not talk about that? That's an important part of it, and I think that's something that if you choose to ignore that, if you say, well, it might not be a baby, then sure, I can understand where you're coming from, but we have to understand the baby in the womb is a human. So I think we should probably focus a bit more on that.
Yeah. And I'm just going to kind of point out something he said and kind of take his point of view for a second. To y'all, is it morally acceptable to put your own needs and convenience based on financial issues or anything like that? Is it okay to put those needs and convenience over the life of an unborn child?
I think it's okay to do that if it's over an unborn child, because needs and convenience are necessary to survive. If you're going to introduce a life to the world, they should have a good, quality of life. They should have access to a good quality of life if you're going to bring a child into the world. And without that quality of life, then you're just sentencing another child to a bleak
What are you
childhood.
sentencing the child to a bleak ending by just killing it instead?
It would be considerably less bleak to have a child
How so?
die within the womb than have a child die from starvation out in the street because you couldn't afford to feed the child.
What babies are dying out in starvation in the streets?
So, I mean, there is an issue with economic inequalities. There are issues with food deserts. We all know that there are there's a lot that we don't experience because we are in Arlington, and we have the privilege to be able to live within mileage to go to a grocery store, but not everybody has that privilege.
Right.
And so, may I finish speaking? But I would also, to answer the question, to say that I don't believe that the question of is it okay for a mother to prioritize their own needs over a child is a correct question, and I feel like that's oftentimes a misconception because from our research we find that again, when it comes to financial reasons, they need to take care of the baby that they are having. We find that when they even have this child and they have other children, that these financial, the financial stability of the family that they're taking care for tends to get worse instead of getting the abortion and waiting later. That's a fact, and that's not an opinion, and that's not a stance.
Well,
also, I'm.
So, your argument is basically based off of eugenics. So, what you're saying is that because they are in a lower class of society that is not provided with all the resources that somebody wealthier may have, that they should not have the right to life.
Oh, of course not, no. I think that one of the implications of the study that we found was to allow generous assistance and less punitive assistance for women who are low income. Of course, if there is an issue with income inequality, then that's the issue with income inequality, not the woman seeking an abortion. So that needs to be addressed and solved. If we really want solutions to an issue and we really want to advocate for lives that we do believe in, then we need to solve other issues that are affecting a woman's choice to engage in abortion, not make it illegal. We found other studies that have shown that simply making abortion illegal is not beneficial. Again, as I've already said before, Roe v. Wade was even introduced, 20 to 25% of women were still getting abortions. I'm assuming that the stance of pro-life is that it should be illegal, and that's not a solution to decreasing abortions. It only makes people get it harmfully.
What do you mean by harmfully? Can you dive into that more?
I really don't want to talk about specifics about.
No, are you saying like women will take the back alley abortions? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe.
If necessary.
Why should that be necessary?
If you can't financially support a child and you see it as the only way for you to survive and possibly bring in a family in the future, rather than just be stuck with the child, then they would take to back alley abortions.
But why should we be able to promote that? I mean, if it's killing an unborn baby, because we have to be able to understand this is an unborn, whole, living, distinct human being that y'all haven't been able to contest, is that if it's a whole human being, then we shouldn't be killing it. That's murder.
Well,
why should we make it more legal for them to have the option of murder?
If it's a whole human being, we should make sure that people have the right financial stability in order to raise this human being that is in the womb.
We have a right to life. We don't have a right to being rich.
So we also have a right to a quality of life.
She can talk.
There are also, like stated earlier, that there are organizations that help mothers keep stability for their child. They give them resources that they need. And a lot of these organizations give them resources at a low cost or even for free.
But what is the likelihood of being accepted into these organizations?
100%.
Very likely.
But how long do those resources last?
Depending upon how much they need it.
I have a question.
It's depending upon each organization.
Do you guys have any examples of organizations that help women who are in financial or in low income areas? Is this offered for women in all areas? Is this specifically one location? Because location is also a huge determination of getting an abortion and not being able to get an abortion.
There's tons of inner city there's tons of inner city programs with me. I don't have it with me right now.
Okay.
But I know for churches provide tons of money for these kinds of things. Many of them provide it for themselves. I know Bellevue, we have ministries that produce that. Faith Baptist in Bartlett, they provide those sorts of resources and income, and they're not good. Go ahead.
When you say churches, are you talking about churches that have the finances for this?
The ones that provide it by tithing, yes.
Alrighty. I just also want to address that Again, just reassert our claim. Again, this is just all facts-based. Women who were turned away for abortion and wanted to give their birth experiences had an increased household poverty lasting at least 4 years relative to those who received an abortion. We also find that after abortion denial, women are likely to not have money for living expenses like food, like housing, like transportation to even get to these places. Being denied an abortion also lowered a woman's credit score, which is something that that facility cannot change.
If I ask, with our Social Security program, when you have more kids, you're providing more money. Is that not providing more money to the families?
So actually, they're
You're good.
Based off of welfare, there is a cap and a limit where if you already do have children, you may not get more money if you continue to have children.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we're going to take another short break. When we get back, we're going to look at ATV's new show, This is Arlington, as well as a package with other students and their opinions on the topic.
I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
This is Arlington airs 2 episodes a month. Make sure to check out AHS Tiger Life. Now we go to TigerClash's reporter, Savannah Worley.
Thank you, Jake. I went around school to chat with other students on their stance on abortion. Let's see what they have to say.
I feel like abortion is a good thing because there's a lot of people out here in this world that are not prepared to have a kid, especially at such a young age.
I'm definitely against it. I feel as if it is like somebody came up to your sister and killed her and just said, you don't deserve to be here, so I'm gonna kill you.
I mean, there's really no excuse for it. You're just killing people. Like, that's all there is to it. You are killing people. There's no debate here.
I'm pro on it because it's kind of her choice. If she doesn't want to have it, I don't feel like she should have it. But I could also see she should also give birth and put it up for adoption if she truly doesn't want it.
Well, I don't support it, but I do believe that it's up to the parents and they should console each other on their decisions.
I personally don't agree with abortion. I think that it's wrong under most circumstances. For me, I think it depends on how old the baby is, because it's obviously a living thing if it's inside of you.
I feel like you should have the right and choice to have abortion. It's basically, I think that if you are in a domestic violence situation, or you are sexually assaulted, or you are raped in a way where you didn't have the verbal I guess choice to say you didn't want this.
Yeah, I'm pro-choice on the matter. In an effort to prevent radicals from storming my house with pitchforks, I'll spare you the reasons. You know them already. They're obvious, but yeah, I'm pro-choice.
I feel like it's bad because if you wait too long, it's gonna have a heartbeat. But in certain situations, like, I won't get into detail, but there's some situations you should be able to get one.
I think it all depends on the person, like the woman. It should be the woman's choice.
I feel like it's wrong. Like, I feel like that's like life. But in certain situations, it's needed. So, I mean, it's up to you.
More babies are aborted yearly than people dying of any illness, cancer, or anything. It's like 40 million or something a year. So it's pretty crazy.
I know this is a tough topic for students to speak about, and I appreciate those students who opened up and expressed their thoughts.
Yes, for sure. We appreciate you, so thank you. We're going to talk to just the pro-life people. We're going to talk to them. Can you tell me a little bit about the mother's mental health when she, just go into that.
Yes. According to the U.S. National Library of Medicine and the National Institute of Health, abortion affects women's mental health very negatively. Women can develop PTSD, severe cases of depression, and women who go through abortions are at a greater risk of mental health problems, and abortion can cause conflicts or defects in the decision-making process.
Right, and I think something else that we've talked about it a bit, but we haven't actually gotten a firm answer from the pro-choice side is like understanding that the unborn is human. And like if we follow this train of logic, the unborn entity from the moment of section, it's a human, it's part of the human community, is morally wrong to kill anyone, to kill any human. Every successful abortion kills a human being, a full-fledged member of the human community. Therefore, every successful abortion is morally wrong because it kills someone, a part of the human community. I don't think we've actually been able to address that, and I would just love to see what they would have to say about that.
Okay. Do you want to speak first? You can speak first. So to the response about mental health, we also find out with the study that was another big misconception. We found it that within the study that the women who did not receive an abortion were more associated with worse mental health, and being denied an abortion was also associated with high anxiety, low self-esteem, and lower life satisfaction. So that's a very misconception. People have the possibility, yes, to develop mental health issues, but then that's with a lot of things as well. The percentage, though, of you developing depression or PTSD with that is far lower than actually carrying out an abortion that you chose to and that you later agreed with, which is why we already stated, and I will state it again, 95% of the women who did have their abortions were happy and were satisfied with their choice. Also, you talked about, again, our opinion about humanizing or dehumanizing a fetus. What I think and how I view a fetus isn't, I'm not sure if that really matters.
Why would it not matter?
Because I'm not pregnant. I don't have a fetus
but we're talking
inside
about
of me.
science. We're talking about the science of embryology. If it says it's a human, it's a human. It doesn't matter about my opinion, about your opinion, about a man's opinion, about a woman's opinion. It doesn't matter. It just depends upon whether it's human or not.
So I also have a response to that. You stated in yours that it's morally wrong to kill someone in the, quote, human community, but fetuses don't possess the ability to think in the same way we do, and neither do people who are brain dead, yet we still pull the plug on them every day. Would that be considered murder by your standards?
Well, would you call someone in a coma? Would we pull the plug on someone who's in a coma?
If they don't have brain dead.
They're not brain dead if they're in a coma. That's a different type of thing. When you're brain dead, you're actually dead. It's just you're running off of life support. There's a difference. There's a change right there.
But people in comas are running off of life support too.
Right, but they'll come out of it.
Not always.
Not always, but a lot of times they can.
How often?
I don't have the statistics on that. I don't think you do either. But I would like to say that they do. There are comas that people come out of. It's a well-known fact for that.
There are comas that people come out of, but they still don't come out of them. And
so do we pull the plug on the person that's in a coma for a day? Because we might not know if they're going to come out the next, or come out in a month, or come out in 9 months? When do we get the chance to pull the plug on them?
If a family decides to make that decision for their personal reasons, I think my partner just simply asks you.
I don't think that's how our code even works.
Wait, okay.
If there's evidence that they're going to come out, we're not going to be able to take that choice and say we can kill it right then.
There's not always evidence that it's going to come out completely healthy. There are many diseases that can affect an unborn child, same as there's a great quantity of diseases that affect people in comas. So it's easier for people in comas to get infections, but that's still.
So you're saying if it has a disability, then we have a right to
But I
kill
also.
it? That's a eugenics argument.
But I also wasn't talking about people in comas. I specifically stated people who are brain dead.
Right. Well, when you become brain dead, there's a change in the mental state of the person. There's like you don't change from being like all your other systems run, but that brain turns off. When you're talking about a baby, that's a developing brain. That's something that's going to happen. Like that brain is going to be fully developed. When you're talking about a brain dead person, the brain shuts off. That's a completely different situation with comparing it to the unborn, to the person that's brain dead.
I would also like to make a point going back to your point of diseases that affect children in the womb. Do you think it is morally right for a mother to have a late-term abortion because she is scared that her baby is going to be born with a disability?
No, but that's
How is
not
that different than what you just said?
different than what I just said about brain dead people.
No, about you just said that there's babies that are born with disabilities and that we have a right to kill them. That's a eugenics argument.
That's not what I said. I don't think we have a right to kill them. I think that there's a massive amount of things that can happen to an unborn baby and to mothers who are being forced to give birth to babies, including babies that would kill them.
I have
May I ask a question to
Yes.
what you just said? So what you just said was a very specific scenario. And I'm assuming that for, again, your argument, correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys believe that abortion is wrong in any situation, period? Or is there
except
exceptions?
for in the case of where the mother could die. That's the only case, because there's one disease called epitomic pregnancy, which is EP, where the unborn gets into the unborn doesn't build in the fetus; it builds outside of it, and that can result in hemorrhage, and like they end up having internal blood loss. That's entirely different than having a normal abortion, because at that point you're not removing the baby to kill it; you're removing the baby to save a life. There's a completely different intent there. There's a completely different choice. If you leave the baby in there, they're both going to die. If you take the baby out and you can't early induce it, or you can't bring it out in a safe way or move it or something like that, then abortion is the only thing that can happen, because you have to be able to save the life.
Adding on to that, even when the mother is in danger of losing their life because of pregnancy, if the baby is where it's supposed to be, recent studies have shown that it is actually healthier for both the baby and the mother, and it increases both of their rates of survival if they give birth to the baby early.
So do you have a response? And this would be your last response because we're running out of time, unfortunately. So just give me your last take, I guess.
Again, just to reestablish what we have already said, whether it's financial, whether it is family situation, whether it's the fact that a woman may not have the support currently and may not even be aware of organizations that are there to help her. We just simply know that from research, it has shown that making abortion illegal has not been effective in deterring abortions, considering that it was still taking place before the law was even took place. So again, where it comes to morals, I'm not pregnant, I will not and I cannot say a lot. I think that is up to the person who is receiving that procedure.
Y'all have a last say? And we're done.
The unborn's a human baby. That baby's alive, it's a whole, it's a distinct human being, completely different from the mother. When we're taking the life of that baby, we're killing that baby. We don't have the moral ability to be able to do that. Our moral obligation is to see that pregnancy through and take care of that baby afterwards. When we're killing that, we're ending a life, we're ending God's life on that baby. So.
Okay. Well, thank you to our debaters for being guests on the show. It was great to have each of you. Be sure to tune in next month. If you want to know more about us and about what we do, visit ahstigerlife.com, or if you have not watched our last debate, also go to ahstigerlife.com, where Trevor Johnson and Kate LeBaron debated on whether the COVID-19 vaccine mandate was ethical. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month.